Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the courtroom to break down the rules that control how people give evidence. You know, the rules that always seem so confusing in movies and TV shows. Let's get right into it. You've absolutely seen this scene before, right? The lawyer is trying to get a witness to say something, but they have to ask a million questions just to get there. It seems so, inefficient. You're probably thinking, just ask them. You saw him do it, right? Well, it turns out there's a really powerful reason they can't do that. And it goes to the very heart of how our justice system is supposed to find the truth. So to get why this is, we've got to start with the absolute basics of how a witness gives their side of the story. It's way more structured than you might think. And it all begins with a process called examination in chief. Examination in chief is simply when a lawyer calls their own witness up to testify. The point here isn't to go on the attack or anything like that. It's to carefully build a story, piece by piece, that helps their case. You can think of the lawyer as a guide, helping the witness tell their story to the court in a way that's clear and, most importantly, follows the rules. Okay, so you might be wondering, why not just let the witness talk? Let them tell their story in one long go. Well, our system chose what's called the question and answer method instead. Think of it like this. The lawyer is a film director and the witness is their actor. A director doesn't just yell, "Action," and hope for the best. They give very specific lines and cues to get the exact performance they need. This Q&A system gives the lawyer control, it keeps the story focused on what's actually relevant, and, this is huge, it helps stop the witness from accidentally saying something they're not allowed to, like hearsay. It really is all about control and precision. This brings us to the first really big rule. And it gets into something fascinating about how our brains work: our memory. Specifically, the difference between remembering the general idea of what someone said versus remembering the exact words they used. And believe me, in a courtroom, that is a massive deal. This quote from Justice Jackman really nails it. He's saying that trying to force a witness to repeat a conversation word for word when they only remember the gist of it is just plain wrong. It's logically wrong because you can't magically create exact words from a general feeling. And it's ethically wrong because it makes the witness's memory sound way more certain and detailed than it actually is, which is totally misleading. So what's the solution? Well, Justice Jackman actually laid out some really smart, practical rules for how a witness should talk about conversations honestly. If you only remember the substance, you just use indirect speech, like "he told me he was leaving." Simple. If you remember one specific, powerful phrase, you quote just that part. "He told me it was now or never." Only if you have a genuine, crystal clear memory of the whole thing should you use direct quotes. And the most important rule of all, don't fake it. Pretending your memory is perfect will absolutely destroy your credibility. And this is what brings us right back to that question we started with. A reason a lawyer can't just blurt out, "You saw him do it, right?" is because of a very strict ban on something called leading questions when they're examining their own witness. So what exactly is a leading question? Well, it's a question that does one of two things you just can't do. Number one, it suggests the answer the lawyer wants to hear. It's basically feeding the witness their lines. And number two, a bit more sneaky, it assumes a fact is true when that fact is still being argued about. Both of these are a huge no-no. Here's a perfect example of what not to do. Just look at how much the lawyer is spoon-feeding the witness here. The question suggests there was a car, that it was going fast, and that it came from the opposite direction. The witness is just being asked to say yes to a story the lawyer already wrote. This doesn't test their memory. It just tests if they're willing to agree. So what's the right way to do it? You've got to break it down into a series of small, neutral, open-ended questions. Each one builds on the last, and it lets the witness provide the information from their own memory. Did you notice any other traffic? Yes. Which direction was it coming from? The opposite direction. And at what pace was it going? It was going very fast. See? Now the evidence is coming from the witness, not from the lawyer's question. Okay, so just when you think you've got this rule figured out, surprise! The law throws you a curveball. That ban on leading questions, it's not totally absolute. There are actually a bunch of times when a judge will let them slide, all in the name of making things run smoothly and fairly. For instance, to save time, a lawyer can lead a witness through boring stuff like their name and address. Or if a fact isn't in dispute, you can lead on it. They can use them to have a witness point someone out in the courtroom, or to help steer the witness to a brand new topic. And this is a really important one. A judge might allow it if a witness is very young or elderly or just terrified, or if their own witness suddenly turns hostile and won't cooperate. So you see, the rule is more of a guideline, a tool, not a rigid command.
So let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? Why have all this hassle, all these complicated rules about memory and questions? Well, it all comes down to one thing: protecting the quality and the integrity of the evidence that a judge or a jury has to rely on to make a decision.
See, when you lay it all out like this, you can really see how these rules work together as a system. The Q&A format keeps things orderly and controlled. The rules about memory make sure we're testing what the witness actually remembers, not some script they've been fed. And the ban on leading questions stops lawyers from just swapping in their own story. The whole point is to get the purest, most authentic version of the witness's own evidence. And in the end, it all comes down to this one crucial question. Every lawyer has to guide their witness. They have to. But where do you draw the line? At what point does that necessary guidance turn into outright manipulation? That is the incredibly fine line, the tightrope that lawyers have to walk every single day in court. It's what makes the search for truth both a structured process and a human art form. And now you understand the rules that draw that line.